know that the CXC is one of the regional institutions that help to carry out the Caribbean community's work? Well, in today's episode of CARICOM One-on-One, we're going to be talking about the CXC, or the Caribbean Examinations Council, and how they help to carry out some of the mandates that have been set by the Caribbean community for the development of the region. And so my guest today is the Registrar for the CXC, Mr. Glenroy Cumberbatch. Welcome to the program, Mr. Cumberbatch.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and as you're aware, we're going to be talking about the CXC and how the CXC works for the CARICOM region. But before we get into the discussion, if you are not a member of the CARICOM family, I think by now it's time for you to join us. And if you want to be a member of the family, all you have to do is become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification button too if you want to know when we upload. So now let's jump into the discussion. Tell me, well, let's first talk about you. Who are you?
Well, I'm Glenroy Cumberbatch. I'm a national of Barbados. I've been in education for many years. I started teaching back in 1975.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time ago. And I worked my way through from teaching into Ministry of Education and from Ministry of Education into CXC, joined CXC staff in 2007.
Oh, wow.
As for Registrar in the Jamaican office, and then I went over to Barbados as Registrar in 2014 until now.
Okay. All right. Tell us a little bit more about what you enjoy doing outside of work.
I used to enjoy playing sport, but I am no longer that physically fit to play sport, so I enjoy watching sport. Not just the sport itself, but the tactics and the strategies that are used by the managers and the teams in when they have situations that are against them, and how they plan and strategize to improve those situations and to make changes in their approaches. You know, it is really very, very interesting to see those kind of things and to see the changes or the change in result after those amendments or adjustments have been made.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the meat of the matter. We know education is one of the more important areas for development of our region, and so I know that the CXC is crucial in maintaining the value of education within the region. So let's talk about that. Tell me about the CXC. What does the CXC do? How do people benefit from the CXC?
I think if we were to put it into a capsule, CXC really looks after the quality of education in the region, and we do it from 2 points. We look at the CARICOM ideal person, which was agreed to by heads of government back in 1998, and we try to build that in, or components of that, into every single syllabus that we develop, to ensure that once persons have come through the education system, they would demonstrate some of these attributes of the Caribbean ideal person. The other one we try to do is to ensure that there is quality in the education system from primary straight through, by our assessments, by our engagements, and by what we do to provide that quality. And thirdly, to ensure that we certify people for the workforce, people from all areas, from primary, from secondary, from tertiary, whether it is technical, whether it is vocational, whether it is whatever kind of qualification that we certify them to fit into the workforce. So generally we have two functions, and those two functions is to ensure that persons who graduate from the schools or graduate from the institutions or who get our certification can contribute to social development in their countries and also economic development in their countries.
Okay, so talk to me about what that looks like on the ground. What does that certification, etc., look like? Would that be referring to things like your regular CSEC and CAPE exams, for example?
It relates to the CSEC and CAPE. The CSEC would be 40 years old on the 28th of May. That was when our first CSEC exams were given back in 1979 on the 28th of May. So it will be 40 years on the 28th of May this month. That is the one that is best known, that replaced the O-level. Then later on the CAPE replaced the A-level. But we've developed others since then. We have developed the CCSLC, which is used at the first 3 years of secondary school, which is a very powerful program, not just a subject that you take, but a powerful program that try to develop in you communication skills, problem-solving skills, critical thinking, conflict resolution, all those things, along with the knowledge of mathematics, science, English, and so on. Then we have a program for CPA in primary schools that was introduced back in 2012. And already we are seeing the benefits of that. Those children who did CPEA in 2012 and 2013, when they did exams last year, their performance was higher than children who did not do the CPA program in primary school.
So this is kind of, when you say when they did exams, this would be like their grade 6 achievement?
No, this is like their CSEC, because they're from 2012.
Oh, yeah,
so having done CSEC, those, when we did an analysis, we look at 629 students who did not do CPA, and we look at 629 who did CPA, and when we compare their scores, the ones who did CPA, their scores were higher than those who did not do CPA. So it really builds that foundation to give them the literacies required to benefit from secondary education, but also to be certified for further progress, either for work or for higher learning.
Okay, great. Tell me, what are some of the things that you are working on currently at CXC? What are some of your current projects?
Well, the biggest current project now is to move fully towards e-testing. We want to go to e-testing fully by 2020. We started e-testing back in 2017, where we did multiple choice papers. And then in 2018, we did multiple choice papers, but also short answers and essays. And in 2018, we also encouraged people to bring their own devices from home to take part in the examinations. So that has gone fairly well. We are in 2019, and we had a successful sitting of e-testing in January. In April, we did what we call a stress test, where we got schools from across the region to put up their own tests on the platform and let the children do their tests. And where they did not do their tests, we put our tests. We found that the platform worked reasonably well, but there were some issues that we have to address. So we're going to do another stress test later on, maybe in June, next month or sometime, to make sure we get it right. But there is tremendous value to doing our exams electronically, because it fits better with the skill set of the current students who really are digital kids, and it gives them the opportunity to use their digital skills in order to answer questions and so on. It also fits much neater with the way we learn. We learn by seeing, we learn by hearing, we learn by doing. But most of our tests prior to 2017 focused mainly on our ability to read and write, and not on our ability to see and interpret, to hear and respond, those kind of things, or to construct something within a test environment. And the electronic testing will give us the opportunity to do all those things.
Okay. Does this require internet access?
It doesn't necessarily have to, but it would be useful. There are 3 ways on which you can do electronic testing. One is to be online consistently. The other one is to start it online and finish online. But the third one is to be totally offline. You can do it totally offline. Okay.
Are there any challenges? I'm sure there must be some challenges that you've been facing with this particular system and with trying to expand your reach across the region.
I think the greatest challenge is the students themselves don't see it as a challenge, but the adults, since it is new, they're the ones who see it as more as a challenge.
An adjustment.
Right, but once the students do it and we do an interview with them afterwards, some of them want to know why they didn't do it before, and if that is how they will continue doing their exams, because it suits them better, but we have to convince the adults that there will be no disadvantages by moving students onto the electronic platform.
Okay. Are there any projections in terms of rolling out this particular system?
Well, we hope to roll it out fully by 2020. If we don't get it fully by 2020, if we don't get enough people picking it up, we will aim towards 2021 or so.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. This has been a very interesting discussion. Thank you also for joining us for today's episode of CARICOM One-on-One. I know maybe some of you weren't aware of just how much the CXC contributes to the work of CARICOM, but now you know. And to know more about CARICOM's work, go ahead and follow our social media spaces, like us on Facebook, follow us on on Twitter, check out our blog, go to our website. And of course, it's always a pleasure to have you join us on this program. And I look forward, as usual, to seeing you next time.